Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of Founders Go Naked. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the 4 webinar trends and best practices for 2024 for high-ticket coaches if you want to crush it in webinars this year. All right, so let's quickly jump into the 4 things. Firstly, there is riches in niches. Here's the key thing, right? Most people try and target too big of a market. They try and target everyone that has a pulse, that has $2 in their wallet. That is what they're targeting. And as a result, they repel the people that they truly should be targeting. Let me give you an example, like in weight loss, right? There are tons of people who need weight loss. Okay, or they want weight loss. I shouldn't say they need, but they want to get weight loss, right? But if you have a product or webinar that is just saying, yeah, come to this webinar and I will show you how to lose weight, well, there are 10,000 other people saying the same thing. So here is where you need to start focusing on niches. It might be weight loss for executives, might be weight loss for busy mums, might be weight loss for entrepreneurs who are super busy as well. So all these are different little niches, and it's so important for you to find your niche where the people, number 1, value your service, number 2, are willing to pay for your service, and number 3, you have a special affinity with these people. So that is so important.
That's me, but I don't need weight loss because I already have a hot bod.
Yeah, Debbie, we know you have a hot bod, so that goes without saying that you don't need this weight loss program, and that's cool. So that is the first thing I want to bring across. That is riches are in the niches. And the second thing I want to give you today is that you need to solve one specific bleeding neck problem. The whole bleeding neck analogy is that someone has a bleeding neck and you really need to fix it really fast once you have a bleeding neck, right? You can't just walk around and, do other things while your neck's bleeding, right? So the whole analogy is that you need to find that bleeding neck problem, and number 2, give a specific solution for that bleeding neck problem. So, for example, many people talk about, say, marketing and sales in general, right? But what about talking about a very specific problem that is the result of poor marketing and sales? Like, for example, lack of clients, lack of predictability in the business income, or attracting bad clients that pay too little.
But I like to pay as little as possible and complain as much as possible.
And yeah, Debbie, that's why you are not our client and you will never be our client, and you're just a co-host, okay? So anyway, that is the whole thing then. And how about retaining clients, for example? Because a lot of people are great at attracting clients, keeping clients, not so much, right? So the key there is that your webinar should solve one specific problem. Don't try and solve too many problems all at once and be too broad. And the reason, once again, is because there's so much competition out there in the marketplace. It is so important to really decide where to place your hat on. And the third thing is where you need to create a mechanism. Now, the great legendary Eugene Schwartz once said that when a market space becomes very competitive, one of the ways to combat this competition is by creating a mechanism.
Was Gene Schwartz handsome?
I don't know whether Eugene Schwartz was pretty good looking, but he was indeed a very, very smart person that was way ahead of his years in his thinking, and that's why I admire him. He's kind of like an alien from outer space in terms of his marketing knowledge, which is why I adore his books and I read his books at least once a year just to revise it again. Anyway, coming back to what is a mechanism, right? A mechanism can be a formula, blueprint, or a 3-step process or something. It's kind of like the secret ingredients in KFC, for example, right? So you could have stuff like the quick start business blueprints, the bulletproof investing formula, the profit maximizer matrix, right? And for us, we have a mechanism in our own agency, which we call blitzvertising, which is a very specific process and system of how we test and find winning ads and then scale those winning ads, right? So regardless of what niche you're in, I'm sure you can come up with a mechanism, and that mechanism will make you different to your competition out there. And that is how you can compete in a crowded market space and make your webinar stand out. And the final thing is make a stand for your brand. So figure out, what does your brand stand for and what does your brand stand against?
I stand against Terence hogging 95% of the airtime on this podcast.
I know you do, Debbie, but too bad. You're just an AI and I'm the human being, so I rock and you don't.
Boo!
Live with it and suck it up. All right. So the whole thing here is that you need to make a stand. Don't be a vanilla brand where you don't stand for anything or against anything. Now, one of our recent clients that came to us, we really helped him to make a stand against something. And that is also his own personal brand. And we made him stand against like property agents, property gurus, get rich quick property gurus, right? And property developers. So his main thing is that, don't fall for the scams of all these people, because the right way to invest in property is a safe and sure way, which I can show you this blueprint of mine, right? So once again, coming back to number 3, the mechanism. Okay, so it's so important here to make a stand. So what happens when you make a stand? Of course, like politics, if you make a stand in the US, for example, Democrats or Republican, you probably piss off almost half the people in the country, and the other half would love you. Similar to this, it is when you make a stand and you're clear about your target audience and you make a stand against the stuff that they dislike and the stuff that they are for, they will resonate with you and they will basically be more interested in what you have to offer, whether it's a webinar or a consult or whatever it is, right? It is so important to clearly identify what you stand for, what you stand against, because that will help you to stand out from your crowd and resonate with your ideal target market. So once again, just a quick recap. Those are the 4 things. Number 1 is that the riches are in the niches. Number 2 is that you need to solve one specific bleeding neck problem. And number 3 is that you need to create a mechanism. And number 4 is that you need to make a stand with your brand. Okay, so these 4 things, number 1 will help you to stand out in the marketplace where it's getting more and more crowded with webinars and people claiming to offer a general solution to a problem. Okay, and that I think is going to help you drop your CPLs, and that will help you also to stand out. It will also help you to increase your attendance rates and also help you to increase your sales. So I hope this episode was useful for you, and I hope you apply what you've learned today in this episode. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.